And as always, we're back, Jerry. We're back. We never let him. Never let it go by.
Never in doubt, Tom.
Tell you what, you people, Jesus Christ, I'd love to be being treated like this on a weekly basis.
Well, do you know what I was going to tell you, Tom? Do you know the one thing we could do for our audience more than we're doing already? Because remember, we've got season six starting proper on Monday. Yeah. We have all these bonus episodes with just guests after guests after guests coming. The one thing that we could add to our podcast is a house band.
Jesus, yes.
Imagine like a live band playing us in with that
fucking class. That'd be class.
With that iconic Tom and Jerry show theme tune, which we bought for €15 off Pond 5 or Premium Beats or something.
You mean we didn't get it made by an actual, independent Irish artist? No?
No, and eagle-eared listeners over the first 2 seasons of Tom and Jerry show probably would have heard the audio watermark in it, where it comes in and it's like Pond 5.
We did not. We bought that day one. We bought that day one. Jesus.
I had €7 in the ashtray of the car we bought it.
That's literally.
And if we were to have a house band, Tom, I know the first man we'd be signing up for it. That's our guest today. He's been a mainstay of the Irish music industry for the last 30 years. He's gigged in every festival, every club, every pub, up and down the country. He's been in the Late Late Show house band and the Good Late Late Show, Tom.
Yeah, not that weird one with James Corden where everybody's kind of just weirdly smiling through their teeth because they're just there for the money.
We're having nobody adjacent to James Corden on this podcast ever. But who we are going to have is Jim Sheridan, ladies and gentlemen. A wonderful guy who's taken us through his career in Ireland. What he could tell us anyway.
Yeah, what he could tell us. Behind that man's eyes throughout this, I was like, oh, Jesus, if only we weren't actually recording and putting this out to the real world, which kind of defies what a podcast is all about. But he's got dirt on everybody.
I felt he had a worse gig in there somewhere, but there would be a statute of limitations on it. Regardless of which, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy this week's guest, Jim Sheridan.
And we're delighted, Jim Sheridan of Twitter fame. I know you more so through Twitter than I do actually the Late Late Show band, but I mean, everybody I loves a good old opinion, and I tell you something, Jim, you're a powerful man for it.
Yeah, well, sometimes you have to just say what you got to say, but I'll always try and keep it funny, I would hope.
Oh yeah.
Carries you a long way, so it does, Jim. I found that as well. Goes the distance.
I was only joking, lads. It's great, yeah. But I mean, 30, what are you, 20, 30 years in the music business?
33 years, unbelievably. Yeah, I know.
That is pretty unbelievable, I will say. That is pretty unbelievable.
I started in school and fell into a band at around 86, 87. And luckily, through whatever, it's continued on to this day. So it's been quite a ride. And
unfortunately for my worst gig ever segment of the Tom and Jerry show, those 33 years have been blessed with no bad gigs at all. Right?
Absolutely, everyone was golden. We always got paid. Everybody was clean and sober. We never ended up broke down in the middle of the road with no petrol. We never ended up in a band fight. We never ended up losing a guitarist. We never ended up. The only problem is, lads, when you ask me about dodgiest gigs, and I would start thinking about some of the stuff. It's like there should be an official secrets act. These people are still alive. So I was sitting with my wife going, oh, Jesus, remember? And she said, you can't tell that. He's married. He'll be divorced. You'll be divorced. So, or the guards will be involved. So for criminal reasons and for marital reasons and for, I decided I was thinking about the early days, for the gig, but we'll get to that in a minute.
So good. Just to let you know, this is a safe space, Jim. So if you want to hang anybody out to dry, you're absolutely grand by us.
Hang on, I have a list of enemies.
and in truth, Jim, when myself and Tom used to talk about our worst gigs ever as comedians, we rarely talked about the gigs where we told jokes and nobody laughed. That was just a kicking off point. That was par for the course. It was always when there was damn near occult things happening around us that it became a worst gig ever.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, for the most part, I've been lucky. I've like after the start, I kind of got into I was straight into a kind of a professional band
Right.
within about 5, 6 months. You know, from actually starting playing. Like that's the thing. When I say I fell in, I fell in. I was still in school, and I mean, just to give you quickly, I mean, I would bunk off school and go into the music shops, music maker up and so the riffs I could play were like Unforgettable Fire, Axel F, do, and a bit of craft work. So they would let you stand. I'd have the school uniform on, jacket over it, pair of headphones, and just go around the keyboards because I didn't own a keyboard. I'd
Right.
done
Right.
like 6 months of accordion when I was about 13 or 14. And I just happened to be in a music shop. And remember, like in '86, all the A&R guys were looking for the next U2.
Right.
So Dublin was one full of bands, original bands, like full of them. There was loads of venues to play, and A&R guys from the UK were coming over on jollies to find the next U2. So I'm in a music shop, and a guy came up, English accent, a black guy for Ireland, which was rare, at the time. Looked amazing, had all the hair. It's just, are you a keyboard player? Yes.
You're goddamn right I am.
We're
Did you not
auditioning
hear me banging out Axel F there?
Well, yes, it was all on headphones. It was brilliant. And he went, yeah, well, look, we're auditioning tonight, 7 o'clock. If you want to, meet up in the Boar's Head, we'll have a list. And so I was bunked off. So I hung around. And just in the jigs and reels of that event, which is a whole story in itself, I ended up getting the gig and then had to go and buy a keyboard. So out came the communion and confirmation money and loans, and learn how to play. But and I was off like 2 weeks rehearsals in Clontarf, and out I went on the road, and I just haven't stopped.
It's I gotta tell you, Jim, it's making me rethink my policy of training the kids not to talk to strangers. Because that all the hallmarks of a group. Let me get this straight: you're in your school uniform, bunking off, and a guy approaches you and says he wants to meet you later on in a pub.
But he looked. You have to understand. Jerry. This guy looked like something straight out of Top of the Pops.
Okay.
And had the English accent.
I would rephrase. I just reconsider maybe the TV show you chose there. There was a very popular host.
Yeah,
of that through this. Just
his hole's getting deeper here, Jim.
But you see, you have to understand. Like in '87, there was so few keyboard players. Everybody wanted to be in a U2. Everyone wanted to be the Edge or Bono, right? Or Larry, right? Okay. No one really wanted to be Adam, but there you go. But they all wanted to be rock. Rock was the thing. Rock bands were huge. But because of the way music was going, and synths were coming in and being used in the charts, so there was so few that literally he was doing a trawl of the music shops of who was standing at a keyboard to try and get as many as he could to come to the audition.
Brilliant.
I didn't go home. I couldn't even. They said meet up in the Boar's Head. I was so young. I walked into the Boar's Head and got instantly thrown out. Like instantly thrown out. So I was standing outside, and sure enough, 7 o'clock, you can't wait out here, go inside. I said, they won't let me. They won't let me in. So they allowed me to sit in on the audition, hidden down the back, which was held in the old Music Maker.
Right, yeah.
The corner from, before it moved to Exchequer Street. So I was able to sit and watch all these dudes come in and do what they did. And I was just there for the experience, went to school. I didn't have a breeze. I didn't know a single song. And unless they were going to play Axel F, the first bit, or the Unforgettable Fire, I knew I'd be gone. But I thought, this is a good story. This is, for school, this is going to be great. And it was a great experience. But I ended up getting the gig.
How shy were the other fellas, Jim?
See, I was debating telling this. Here's the thing. The others weren't shite, right? The others weren't shite. Here's what... See, I was 16, but I wasn't dumb, if you know what I mean.
Right,
I spotted what was going on. So basically, this had been a 3-piece rock band.
Right.
with the guitarist and lead singer and songwriter. Okay. The experienced guy was the bass player. He was slightly older. And he had said to them, look, if we really want to, get a record deal now, we're going to have to add in synthesizers.
Right.
Which they went, no, we don't, no way. We are a rock band, rock is guitar.
Yeah.
So they agreed to it because it's a trio, right? You would have to have one vote each. So it was always going to be vote for the guy 2-1. And I realized the first guy walked in, looked amazing, could play, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, he was brilliant. He's going to get the gig. So your man goes, thanks very much. That was great. We'll let you know. He walks out. And the bass player goes, he was amazing. That guy looks great. He's got the look. He's got this. And the other two guys go, no. He said, what do you mean? Nah, don't like him. So by the third guy, I went, all right, they really don't want the keyboard player. And it was gradually getting more fractious and more fractious. And anyone who was better looking or taller than the lead singer was getting the gate too. So if you were tall, you could play, or good looking, you were out. So I turn up, I'm last, right? And there's really bad atmosphere. I mean, these guys are close to coming to blows. Okay, I get you're allowed, because I didn't have keyboards, but we're in a music shop. You can pick whatever keyboard you want. And I can remember I got a D50, which is really expensive, the keyboard. And I had one button, if you pressed it, it would make this sound that went. It sounded great, but you only had to use one finger. So they said to me,
sounds like my kind of keyboard.
Yeah, they said, what songs do you know? I know Axel F. No. What rock songs? Do you know any Thin Lizzy, Gary Moore? No. Well, do you know this song? No. Have you played in a band? No. What keyboards do you have? I don't, but I was thinking of getting them. So he goes, okay, we're going to play this thing. It's in D, right? Key of D. Now, from my accordion, my brilliant 6 months of accordion, I knew what the notes were. So literally the boys kick off into a tune and I just wait. And every time it hits D, I hit the key that goes, and then it goes off to D, I stop. And I go back to the D, right? Atrocious. So it stops. And the boys turn around and go, okay, you said we have to have a keyboard player. If we have to have it, that's the guy. And the bass player goes, are you fucking kidding me? He said, no offense, he said he can't play. And we said, well, we agreed and it's 2-1. So if and he turned around and went, all right, fuck yes. Right, he is the keyboard player. And they went, well, no, hold on. And he goes, no, he's the keyboard player. Right? So he turned around and said, can you get a keyboard? And we're going to have 2 weeks of rehearsal. I'm going to give you a tape. You've got 2 weeks before we go into a rehearsal room. You've got 2 weeks to learn how to play and you're going to be the keyboard player. And I just went, okay.
I mean,
old Jimmy Default there is like, yep, no worries, lads.
Yeah, and luckily I had a pal of mine who was a keyboard player. He played for Tops of the Town shows. He was a friend of my dad's and all. And I went to him and said, I joined a band. And he went, Jesus, Jim, I didn't know you played. I said, I don't. But I've joined a band. And
wait, go to stop, Jim. I'm just going to stop you. You didn't join a band. You were hand selected.
Thank you, Jerry. I was chosen because I wasn't tall, good looking, or could play. I had no talent and was an ugly little child with like a bowl haircut in a school uniform.
You were having a grand day of Mitchin.
Yeah. I love it. Like a lot of these, as they call them, toxic environments, no good can come from it. Jim is like all day long. It's all coming up Millhouse for Jim because he's like, hey, look what happened. You keep hating each other, lads, and I'll keep out of begrudgery. You ended up getting... I love that. That's such ignorant bastards.
A career forged from spite.
Yeah, that has informed my whole life. But it was exactly that. No word of a lie. And he showed me where to put my fingers, at least to get the chords, to make sound. And I borrowed money. There was a sale in Music Maker. I can remember it all. Going in to buy, I bought a guitar.
Lovely. Nice.
And I bought an Oberheim module, which this is before digital keyboards, right? So that meant it ran on analog, which meant it ran on power supply, which meant if the power supply dipped, it went out of tune. So That doesn't happen now with digital keyboards. Literally, if 220 volts, if it went 219 or fluctuated, this thing would go. Brrr. But that's okay because I could only play with one hand and play chords. And I did like I put a lot of work. I'm not like put it this way. I did work on it, and I did the 2 weeks rehearsal, and every single day I would learn more and go home and practice all night. I was supposed to be in school, and then I would come back and do it again the next day and do it again, and on we go.
At any point, Jim, was there a chat at home going, "What the fuck are you up to? What are you doing?" Or was it just like Erish or Lucas?
No, there was, but I think it was more a case of, sure, this will all fall up. Sure,
right.
This is.
I mean, like, I was just an image of you, like, at home and the people in the house going, like, Jim's getting very big into the music. What makes you say that? And it's just you with a fucking key tower on eating a bowl of Frosties.
Oh, I know. But when I think of it, like, I haven't thought of this really in years. But it was like, but I discovered once I actually got gigging, I realized I love this. I mean, that's the thing. I started to do it and realized this is just the best. Because I was a quiet kid in school. I was, played a little bit on organ or accordion. There was an organ in the school that could sometimes get me hand on to play my Axel F riff. But suddenly then I was getting all this music thrown at me, and it was an original band. Like,
brilliant.
Serious stuff.
Right.
This like, if you've seen Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Bad News tour?
Yes.
Bad News? Yeah. Okay. So I kid you not when I say that was my first experience. I watched them as documentaries, factual. Because, like, we were going to be stars.
Right.
And why would I think any different? I go into town, I join a band. The next step is obviously the record deal and the stadiums.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
It's a straight line, Jim.
Straight line. It was going to be, I'd probably take maybe 4 months, 5 months, but no more than that. It was going to be cars and airplanes and all the rest. So that was the experience. And as a kid, you just take it all in. So, like, a serious conversation in, Slattery's, which is where we would gig, would be, right, Jim, what are you going to wear tonight? I was thinking, I didn't have anything. I borrowed my sister's jackets and stuff, And goes, yeah, that'd be fine. For the intimate gigs, that'll be fine, maybe a badge. But when we come to do the stadiums, how would you feel about being draped in a flag? And I would go, in all seriousness, yeah, that sounds great. When we do the stadiums, probably in 2 weeks. I don't know how it works, And obviously when we do, like, Red Rock or Madison Square Garden, it'd have to be a big flag. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean, little do they know that, I mean, had you thought about it, as it did with AC/DC, your school uniform would have worked absolutely grand.
Yeah, it would have been grand.
Yeah. So that was the start of it. That was the very first band, an original band, loads of band meetings, loads of discussions about, when we're huge, when we're big. But it was a great, like, I have to say, it was the best fun. Like, to go from school.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah. Oh, Jim, you don't have to sell this to us. Yeah, absolutely. You'd be plucked from obscurity and landed in a band with a promise of flag wearing later on.
Flag wearing, and even better, like, I had literally, I was the kid with the jumper pulled down over the hands and the bowl cut, just like my mum would cut. And one of the first things was, okay, photos. We need photos, and this is our stylist, and the stylist is going to cut your hair. So I, bunked off school again, came back the next day with the highlighted mullet,
I love it.
Almost like you, but like, unbelievable. In fact, there is a photo of the band that got sent to me because I kept nothing of this. Right. And I had put it up on Twitter at one point.
Did you?
Staring off into the middle distance, the classic band.
Wow.
So I went from schoolboy to then suddenly, coiffured, and a guy saying, "Oh, you should wear maybe one glove."
Yeah.
Okay. With the key, one glove. My sister's Miami Vice jacket on. Beautiful. And everyone else in leather and jeans and bands and stuff, and
a a little aside here, Jim. Okay, I'm sorry to doorstep you with this question here, but like myself and Tom are kids of the '80s, but we were children at the time. Uh, the one glove. Could you buy one glove, or did you buy two and throw one away? What was the crack there?
That's a great question. I'm assuming that they came as a pair, but
They'd
like, you know,
have to,
the ones in
wouldn't
Harry Potter where they shared the unicorn, there was another
they?
keyboard player out there with the other glove.
With the other glove.
And if we ever met, we would have made like amazing music together.
Oh
Like
my
the-
god,
the-
it'd be like the two pieces of the plectrum of Destiny.
That's
Jimmy,
it.
coming together.
So somewhere out there, there is a keyboard player who's on a parallel line
Yeah.
of Destiny, but he was left-handed. You know, maybe
Oh,
he's
shit.
playing, maybe he's dead. I don't know.
He's probably
I was just
doing
gonna say
really
that-
well in the early show band. Just
The St. Vincent de Pauls and the Oxfams of the days must have been just like a box out the front with single gloves in them.
Actually, I still have the guitar.
you do not.
You
Oh
don't.
yeah. I'll find it for you at some point. It's buried in the back of the studio.
That's
Of course,
amazing.
never. In fact, it lived its life for that first band for those couple of months till I got a proper. Till I realized this is useless, and then it got kind of put up, and I got a Casio to go with the thing.
Right.
But it did come out of retirement for one gig and one gig only,
Oh,
and I got a call from a guy to say, Jim, any idea where I could get my hands on a guitar for a
I'm
thing?
your man.
I went, I've got a guitar. He said, brilliant. He said, it's for Kajagoogoo.
stop.
And I
Stop.
said, the whole band? He said, no, it's Lamal, but we're going to do Too Shy Shy in a TV show. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you the guitar rent free as long as I come with it to play. And he
No
went,
That's
way.
he
That's
went,
fair
"Great."
deal.
So the one chance I got to use the guitar on TV was playing Too Shy Shy, which is the greatest song of the 80s,
Yeah.
with Lamal. And I am happy as a pig in shit. Even the director said, like, normally when you're playing with someone, you're kind of intense and you're getting the vibe, especially that, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize it till I saw it back. I'm grinning like a total loon.
Back in Music
I-
Maker, 16 years of age again. Go on.
Yeah. Because I got to, because he asked me, do you know the backing vocals? I said, hush, hush, I ta, you too, shy, shy, hush, hush, I ta. It is one of my favorite appearances, and I've been lucky because I've got to play with like a shed load of people over the last,
Yes.
like a real. But I have to, and people ask, what's your favorite? And it's hard to answer, but for sheer just living the dream
Yeah.
with the guitar is playing Too Shy Shy with Lamal.
Please.
You don't do that twice.
Did you bring the glove? Did you bring the glove?
That's a one and done.
I had matured. I left the glove. You know, I
Understand.
do have some standards.
Of course.
You didn't
yeah.
need it. You didn't need it. Would have ruined it.
But throughout, obviously, I mean, have you been catching nothing? It sounds like all we're hearing is positivity here, and nothing but swishing 3-pointers through your whole career. Clearly, nothing
Oh
has gone.
no, tons of failure, lads. Oh, are you kidding me? Tons of bands that completely bombed, projects that you like put heart, soul in, and have it just turn in on itself and explode. You know, recessions, because this is like 3 recessions. You know, karaoke and disco bars, the death of live music. That was the
Jesus,
first
yeah.
big one, right? But the thing is, you kind of got a choice how you do it, right? Which is, for me, I wanted to do this. I love this life.
Of course.
We'll move heaven and earth, and have moved heaven and earth to stay doing it, right? Because that's how I suppose I ended up getting into a professional band where you get paid. Because obviously, for all these bands gigs that we were doing, this first band, there was, 4 quid, 5 quid at the end of the night.
Pints that you were too young to drink.
Yeah, well, we did a gig where we had like a 4-piece road crew and lights and this, and we're getting like 5 quid at the end, but didn't matter.
Yeah.
We look great. But reality then sets in where, okay, you have to live. So the choice is to get a working band. And in fact, it was because we had a stand-in musician, and I hadn't met what I would call a real session musician.
Yeah.
Right. The original scene was very much original. So you're original or you were a breadhead, and a breadhead was bad.
Right.
So, you know,
I've never heard that phrase before.
A breadhead. Oh yeah,
You
someone
know-
who pays for money. How dare you?
Oh,
A professional, a session player, you know. And luckily, I was only in this kind of atmosphere for a short time, because
Right.
that's how you would have ended up with that attitude of being a total and utter. You know, you wouldn't have learned, you wouldn't have progressed. And we had a guy stand in last minute, and I thought I was good at this stage. And this guy arrived in the door, and you know, it's a breadhead. He's only standing in. Don't worry about it. And I kind of said, do you want me to run you through the set or run you through? And he goes, no, it's okay. Give me the list. And I'd sweated blood for every single note. And we rehearsed for hours. And this guy just picked it up and played the gig. And I realized, so that's what a musician is.
there you
Not
go.
the guy worrying about, am I going to wear a flag? How do I look? Do I look better this way or this way? And when I realized that, and I had a good chat with him, and he said to me, look, the best thing you could do is get into a show band. Join a show band, get into some where they'll pay you, and you will be under pressure to learn. You'll have to, improve dramatically or be fired. And so I left that band, and within like 3 weeks, I was into a show band type of band, doing 4 or 5 gigs a week, with set lists changing on the week as whatever song became number one. Learn that. And that was the road to being a professional. The other was great crack, brilliant. To actually being a professional, that's the change.
A breadhead. That's like a sellsword. Yeah, it's like
a mercenary. Well, you don't appreciate the art, obviously.
And there was a split in Dublin at that time, because remember, you guys could have formed a band with no talent whatsoever, but at least you could hold your head up high that you weren't breadheads and you were in it for your lyrics and your songs.
Which is a handy way for really
unemployable,
shite musicians to hide behind that whole cloak of, hey, we're proper artists. No, you're shite and you couldn't make it in the real world anyway. So, but it's a handy way. Hey, there's a couple in the comedy world too.
I was just going to say,
was it starting to ring through there, Jerry?
I was just there, like, I can't think of any equivalency in the comedy world there, but
imagine being
a lot of people that...
Imagine being paid to do your job, and imagine being good enough and getting better at it all the time, where people pay you more and more to do your job. How shocking is that? What sort of a failure are you?
Yeah,
it's quite a concept there, Jim. I mean, like that, but then again, maybe you're just too real to be paid.
So that was it. So once I got into like a proper paying band, and then you start to make a life, and you start to, on it goes. And if you're lucky, and you can keep it going. And like, I'm still learning. Like, you see, I'm sitting here at my studio. I'll always be learning. I'm still learning. I'm 33 years doing this, and I'll never even get close to learning all I could learn. So it's one of those jobs,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I suppose the one that I can think of, that time that because the Late is, I mean, everybody seems to love the Late Show band, don't they? There seems to be a vibe, like there's just a good vibe amongst you, and I think that comes across when you are playing.
See, what's brilliant about that is the live music kind of went off the telly for a long time, and if you turned up at a TV show, it was expected to be playback or mime.
Yeah,
right.
And when Ryan got the Tuberty show, got his first chat show, he was a huge fan of the band because he'd played our album. He was one of the few who could actually play our album, which had a couple of interesting tunes on it, including boy bands or cunts. Right? So
they are.
So we did
safe space.
We'd met Ryan. We'd done a few live radio shows where we could improv with him and off him for his full Irish.
Oh yes, yeah.
He loved that old school radio. So literally a band there who he could throw to live, who could improv off him. And we had great crack. And any excuse he got for his radio show, he brought us to do stuff. And then when he got his TV show, he wanted to bring live music because Ryan Tuberty is a massive, massive fan of live music and live musicians. He,
Oh,
massive. I mean, Ryan is the first one to let's get a sing song going. Is there a piano? Is there guitar? He's a huge fan of live music, and so he was the one who wanted a live band, and that meant then that when people were coming over, you had an option. You could either bring your tape and sound like the same show in Germany, Holland, blah, blah, blah.
Gotcha.
Or we've got a live band.
do you want to use
Would you
them?
like to go fully live? And it doesn't matter whether we played it the next night, it would be different. Once you're playing live, it will be different.
Yeah, of
Because
course. Yeah, yeah.
instrumentation is different. So you're creating a new version. So once we started to do that, we had a lot of people that say, oh, I believe you have a band. We'd like to go live. And we'd get on great with them because it's musicians and singers.
Of course.
Yeah, of
want to
course.
play live. They've done every TV show in the world. Press play. It sounds the same. It's the same tempo. Everything's the same. But when you have a live band, well, now they can go, I'd like to do it slightly slower, or can I do this with it? Or because they've sung that hit a million times. So
Yes.
that's why most of the people we've played with always have a kind word to say, because we'll work our socks off to learn the song before they
Yes.
arrive. So when they come in, if they want to change anything, we know it already. So it's easier to change.
Yeah. And it's as we say, safe space, because you get artists too who go, Jesus, I don't know, or the boy's gonna make a bollocks of me here. Like, but in all fairness, they've seen you enough at this stage, or at least their manager would have seen you enough at this stage. Going, no, they're actually really good. You're probably gonna guess where I'm gonna ask next? Did Russell Crowe put a previous request into you?
No.
How
Actually, I'm glad you asked me this, because I would obviously read the Twitter the next day or whatever. And
Jim,
you'd have people-
you're glad we asked you this. We've been fucking steering towards this for a half hour, pal.
Oh, lads. I'm delighted you asked me this, because
this is the right way to go around, Jer. Just the right way.
Yeah.
I'm reading.
All that stuff at the start, Tom. Just cut all that.
I'm reading the Twitter on it, and you get people who go, I know how television works. I know how bands work. That was all pre-planned. That was, I know how it works. Now, I will never respond online, right, to something like that.
Yeah.
Anything to do with my work, I don't respond. Criticism, no interest, right? It's on a hiding to nothing. But here's the truth to that. I knew Russell was in a band.
Yes,
Right?
yeah.
And we got a chance to have a very quick word with him on the break.
On the
But
break of
only-
the show. Jesus.
Yeah, because he had only come in. He wasn't in from 8 o'clock hanging around.
Right.
Yeah, he was in on the break. And it literally was as quick as say, oh, Russell, great to see you, And I knew his album. And I said, I love your album. And he goes, oh, great, yeah, live band. Yeah, that was the first point. He knew there was a live band.
Right.
And then we went back up. Literally, this was 5 seconds, and we're on a break. We went up and we went into a killer tune. I said, boy, full on, right? Let him hear the band. And obviously, Ryan knew he was in a band. So no planning. This gets thrown at Russell, right? And the reason why is if this had been planned, there would have been mics, guitar stands.
Yeah.
Right.
So Ryan thinks he's going to just sit there and sing something with the lads, just to get like a minute out of them.
Yeah.
30
yeah,
seconds. So Russell thinks, back it. There's a live band. I'm going to the band.
Up the stairs he went. I loved it that night. It was like, Jesus, here we go.
So suddenly now, if what's going on is chaos, I'm trying to disconnect my mic to give him my mic, right? Ryan is obviously filling. It's live, but he rolls with the punches. He goes, well,
He's vamping,
ladies and
yeah.
gentlemen. But now I'm terrified, thinking, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, what is he going to sing? Because now in the world of YouTube, if we screwed up years ago, it would happen. And unless you had your video recorder going,
Yes.
it will never be seen again. In my mind, I'm saying band fail, Oscar star.
Yeah.
Because he could get up and ask for anything. And honestly, you're trying to coordinate 5 people playing a tune they've never heard before. It's going to fall apart. So we're like, the lads are shouting at me, what's he doing? I don't know. What's he going to do? I don't know. Meanwhile, he comes up, So Ryan is talking, and I'm going, "Here you go, Russell. Russell, what are you going to sing?" Don't worry about it. I'm saying, Russell, what are you going to sing? Right?
Don't worry about it, boys.
And he just goes, just follow me. And I am terrified, right? My ears have now gotten this wide, and the guys in the band are great. They're all buskers too. Their ears are standing out. This is where your 30 years of experience comes in. But he could have sung anything. And he just goes, "Give us an E." And we're going, okay. And if you watch that footage closely, we're all like this. And the moment where he goes, "I hear a train a coming," you'll see us break into grins because it's a 3-chord Johnny Cash song. And we blast into it, and he can throw solos, and it just looks like we'd rehearsed forever. We hadn't. We'd done none of that. That is as live as you're going to get. And if that was America, because there's no live shows in America, they would have, his people would have either asked for that to be cut from the show, or someone would have stepped in and went, "Listen, we love the vibe. Let's do that from the top. What is it you're doing, Russell? You're doing Johnny Cash. Okay, can we just get a tempo on that, and we'll get some shots set up while you wait."
Okay, could we frame out the guy with the guitar over there?
But that's where the Late Late Show is unique. There are no live TV shows. So even the night Jack Black was supposed to turn right to go and sit down, and we're playing him out with Highway to Hell, and instead of turning right, he turns left and comes over, and we end up in the middle of Highway to Hell.
Brilliant.
And Brenda Fricker, mad as a brush. I want to do an interview. Keeps looking over. Ryan mentioned something about her looking up. "I've always wanted to play drums."
Have at it, Brenda.
Live on telly. Brenda comes over with the Oscar in the bag, puts the bag down. We come back playing All Right Now because she's not a drummer, but she could go all right now. But that's live. That's this for me. That's the uniqueness of the Late Late Show. With a live band, it is live. Now it can go horrifically wrong.
Well, I do like when the audience haven't a fucking clue what they're supposed to be doing. It's such a depiction of the whitest people that have ever whited the white earth. And you're looking at all these professionals who have rhythm, and what you're gonna see, and it's a Sunday church audience, and they're going, do we look? Do we enjoy ourselves? What do we do? What do we do?
Well, it's a running gag with every musician. Ask any musician. Irish people clap on the 1 and the 3, right? So like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. He is Lord, right?
Yeah.
Anyone else with rhythm is clapping on the 2 and the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and it's a different feel. It's a running gag. We've never been allowed call out the audience for doing. The first thing Russell goes is, "If you can't clap in time, don't clap."
Oh, I remember that was one of the greatest moments of all time. Was gone, and everybody was like, "Well, okay, all right, if you say so, Russell," because he's so.
If you look at the clip again, knowing now the background, you'll see the 2 points we come alive is one when we realize that it's a song we know and can play, and the second one is the moment he calls the audience, the whole band go into absolute creased. Yeah. Well, Russell was a great guy, and then he came back. The next time he came back, we had picked the tune he was going to do, Testify.
Right. Yeah.
Which is why it was on the floor, and we rehearsed it before he arrived, and he just came in, called it for, and we're in, and it cooks. He's a great frontman.
Of course,
charisma is.
Well, who'd argue with him?
Yeah. His charisma is phenomenal. Like him out front of a band, it's pure aggression, and he gives it socks. Yeah, I really like him. He's a good guy. He's a man's man. He's very funny. We ended up having a sing song that night with Irish songs from Australia and New Zealand. We just had a great sing song, and that was fun. Thankfully, that wasn't filmed.
Oh wow, Jim! What can we say? That's amazing. And you know what? In lieu of the stories that would have got you ostracized from the musical community and or sued, That's a wonderful couple of stories for worst gig ever there, pal. Thank you very much for coming along on the Tom and Jerry Show.
An absolute pleasure, guys. Thanks a mil.
I'm off to really, really want to get a guitar now. Not to even play it, just hang around with the thing.
Hold.
Oh yeah, Jim, brilliant. The excitement. I wonder what sort of tie you should wear. Would you? I'd love to get one of those ties, Jerry, if we do a live show. You know, the ones that actually look the keyboard tie, and in homage to the reality of it.
I'm gonna screen grab this. Oh, it's black and everything.
Oh my god!
Just to prove that none of it is lies. Look at that.
Oh, get a screen grab of that, Jer. Get a screen grab.
Hold it up there, like a nice screen grab up there, Jim. There we go.
Isn't that a piece of work, lads?
That is class.
That is something else.
Are they a prick of a thing to try and play though?
Do you know something? They are and they aren't. There's just, you instantly become a cock when you have one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the keyboard player wanting to be a guitar player because you've got even a whammy bar. You've got a bender here.
Oh wow!
Oh, look at that!
That's class.
And a modulator here, and another one here, and then you're changing your patches here and stuff.
There's never been massive respect for him. Sure, there hasn't. Like, you know what I mean? There's just, who had the video where they had the women just dancing back and forth? Who had that video?
That was Addicted to Love, Robert Palmer. Yeah.
And there's no respect.
I'll tell you what the opposite, the pure opposite to that instrument is, Jim. You'll be able to tell me what it is. What do you call the guitar that's like on a table and you play it with like a little metal thing on your...
A lap steel or a pedal steel?
Yeah, a lap steel. This is like, I'm a guitarist, but you know what? Let's get this thing lying down.
You can also have a dobro, which is a guitar played that way. So you've got lap steel, pedal steels, and dobros.
Right.
And you get guys who just put their guitar down and learn to play it that way. There was the blind singer guy who did it.
Oh yeah, there was a blind fella that could do it. Did it like that. Yes.
Yeah. Look, you can do. You know, that's the great thing about music and instruments. If you can get a sound out of it,
go for it.
How you get it out is up to you. You know.
Right. The didgeridoo. Jim, you're an absolute star. Thanks a million.
Thanks a million, Jim.
That's it, Jerry. I'm going out getting myself a guitar. I'm ditching the podcast guitar and a guitar tie. That's what I want. I want one of those ties. I want to just join a band. I can't play. But turns out Jim would tell you, doesn't really matter. Just have the neck. And, you know, a circumstance might mean that you end up actually in a band and becoming quite successful.
There you go. And you're also within punching distance of Russell Crowe. So how about that? although I'd love to know which way those punches would be going.
Yeah, I have a funny feeling Crowe would be a gnarly old thing to get into. I'd say he'd be tough. He got that out.
Impossible to fight.
Yeah. Like a donkey. You wouldn't know which end to start with, and he'd be just tough. And he'd get you at one, you're out. You know, that kind of way.
Well, do you know what it is, Tom? We'll continue a conversation after we go off the air as to whether or not we could fight Maximus Decimus Meridian. But for now... It's like those guys on social media that said, like, yeah, I could probably score a point against Serena Williams. No, you couldn't. She'd fucking shatter your leg with her first serve, and then that'd be you, pal. But while we'll take those conversations off air. Everybody else, thank you for listening to another bonus episode. Thank you for Jim for his time. Wonderful stories. Thank you very much. And we would like to say to everybody, hey, season 6 dropping on Monday, as they say.
Damn right it is. You got our
and
announcement.
Proper, Tom. No fucking round. This is it. Episode 1.
They got our announcement at the beginning. A lot of people are very excited, Jer. People have been getting in contact going, what a fucking buzz. Because they're excited. Based on the fact that it's a change of tack. It's going to be absolutely nothing like what you've heard before. And I guarantee you, our first episode, nobody, and we've searched, nobody has done the subject matter that we've done.
We're fairly confident this is the first podcast on this particular subject matter. So Monday, if you want that episode without going looking for it, what you need to do is subscribe wherever it is you get your podcast. Just subscribe to the Tom and Jerry Show. Then you don't have to go looking at it. It'll just show up in your feed like that. I mean, because I gotta tell you, we do post the links every Monday. That podlink link is it's a glitchy son of a bitch at times now. It doesn't really work.
It is.
So just subscribe. Cut yourself out of the hassle, okay? What else do we want them to do, Tom?
Just go ahead and share. You know it. Share, like, comment. Please leave a comment. give a 5-star review if you can on whatever platform you're able to leave one on, whether it's Apple or Stitcher or possibly Spotify now, I'm not sure. If you can, it helps other people to find it. Doesn't really benefit us, as the fella says, what bank am I going to cash that check in? But the thing is, it helps more people find the podcast. And for this season 6, there's been that much effort put into it. I think it's only right and proper that we'd like to double our numbers. We're doing okay, but we'd like to double our numbers. Get more people involved for the crack that is the Tom and Jerry show. Failing all that, just, you know what I mean, roll it up, write it on a note, and put it into Nana's pocket. Just tell her there's a nice podcast for you.
There's a wee podcast.
There's a wee podcast for you, Nana. Just whoever you got to tell him about it.
I'll tell you another thing for season 6, Tom. I'm going to be upping the output on the social media pages. Now that we've got something to talk about other than ourselves, there'll be any amount of clips, images, links going up. So be sure to follow us wherever you have a social media platform, except TikTok, Snapchat, and Facebook. Because there you go. Ones are too young, ones are too old. So Twitter and Instagram, you'll get us there at Tom and Jerry, Jerry with a G. And if you stick in Jerry McBride or Tom O'Mahony, you know,
you'll probably get us. You know, that kind of way.
I'll tell you how it'll get us, Tom. Real simple. If you stick in Tom and Jerry, Jerry with a G, not the J, that'll get you the mouse. Jerry with a G, and you look for that sterling looking new logo that we have, courtesy of our pal Rob Steers. That's when you know you're on the right track. Just look for those WD-40 colours and you know you're heading in the right direction. And while you're at it, give Rob Steers a follow as well. Rob Steers, Stears, for all your illustration needs. Take a look at what he has for you there.
Boys and girls, talk to you on Monday. Good luck, Jer.
Bye-bye.